Right, good evening everyone. We're going to start the live session today, and today's focus is going to be on word stress. So, does anybody know what word stress is? Okay, well, word stress is the emphasis we put on one syllable in a word. So let's look at the word evacuate from last lesson. It has 4 syllables, evacuate. So the stress will be on the second syllable, evacuate. So if you can hear me clearly, please repeat the word evacuate, stressing the second syllable. Okay? To communicate clearly when you are speaking in English, it's important to stress the correct syllable in each word so you can be understood. So today we're going to look at 5 word stress rules to help you master this skill. So rule 1, I'm going to read out some words and I want you to see if you can complete the rule. So all these words are 2-syllable nouns. So we have climate, knowledge, runway, airport, cabin, wildlife, safety, vortex, conflict, weather, action, and surface. Okay, these words are all 2-syllable nouns, and can you hear which syllable is pronounced the loudest? Which syllable has the emphasis? I'll read them again. Okay, Santiago, thanks for joining. Okay. So I'll read the words again. They're all 2-syllable nouns, and I'd like you to tell me which syllable is stressed, the first or the second one. Climate, knowledge, runway, airport, cabin, wildlife, safety, vortex, conflict, weather, action, and surface. Hi Maurizio, hi Vladimir. So which syllable in those nouns is pronounced the loudest? Is it the first syllable or the second syllable? Okay, can anyone tell me? Is it the first syllable or the second syllable? Napat, hello. Thanks for joining. Okay, so in these nouns, the emphasis is on the first syllable. Okay, the first syllable. So most 2-syllable nouns, the stress is on the first syllable. Yes, Andres. Okay. So when you're pronouncing these words, please put more emphasis on the first syllable and you'll be clearly understood. Good evening, Napat. Okay, so now let's move on to rule number 2. So these are 2-syllable adjectives. Okay, and what are adjectives? Do you remember what adjectives do to a noun? Okay, they describe a noun. Okay, they're describing words. Okay, so I'm going to read out these 2-syllable adjectives and you tell me where the stress is. Is it on the first or the second syllable? So we have nervous, spacious, heavy, level, careful, narrow, tired, quiet, cloudy, and foggy. Okay, those are all 2-syllable adjectives. Which syllable was the loudest? Was it the first or the second one? Feel free to repeat after me when I pronounce them, okay? Nervous, spacious, heavy, level, careful, narrow, tired. Yes, Napat, correct. It's the first syllable, okay? So on 2-syllable adjectives, you stress the first syllable, most of them. There are 1 or 2 exceptions, but most of them. Okay, let's move on to the third stress rule now. Again, I'll read out some 2-syllable verbs, and I want you to tell me which syllable is stressed, okay? Require, decide, reduce, direct, instruct, commence, descend, collide, describe, and report. Okay, so do you notice a different stress rule for these 2-syllable verbs? Okay, which syllable is stressed? Is it the first or the second? Okay, I'll read them again and repeat after me and see if you can establish which one is stressed. Require, decide, reduce, direct, instruct. Yes, Napat, it's the second, okay? Commence, descend, collide, describe, and report. Okay, so all those verbs, we stress the second syllable. Okay, for some words, if we stress the wrong syllable, it can cause misunderstanding. For example, the word present and, hi Alan, the word pleasant and the word present. The spelling is exactly the same, but if we stress the wrong syllable, the listener will get the wrong meaning. Okay? So let's go on to rule number 4. Okay? Rule number 4 are for words ending in Shin. So the pronunciation Shin are S-I-O-N and T-I-O-N. Both those spellings have the same sound, Shun. So we have excursion, incursion, collision, confusion, decision, explanation, and diversion. Okay, I'll read those again. Excursion, incursion, collision, confusion, decision, explanation, and diversion. Hi, Noelia. So which syllable of those verbs is stressed? Can you figure out what the rule is? Because they have different amounts of syllables, some of those words. Okay, can you figure it out? I'll read them one more time, see if you can figure out the rule. There's probably one word there that's confusing you, and that's explanation, okay? It's got more syllables than all the rest. It's got 4. Explanation. So I'll read them again. Guess the rule. Excursion, incursion, collision. Not second this time. Most of them it's the second one, but there is an exception, which is explanation napat, okay? So it is second to last syllable. So second to last syllable. So exceptional, excursion, incursion, collision, confusion, decision, and diversion all have 3 syllables. So when you said, Napat, that it's the second syllable in those words, you are correct. But with explanation, it's the second to last syllable. So we've just applied that rule to all these verbs. Okay, the second to last. So that's great. Are you familiar with all this vocabulary? Do you know the meaning for excursion and incursion? Do you know the difference? Can anyone tell me the difference between excursion and incursion? I'm sure some of you are pilots there. What is an incursion? What is an incursion? Okay, an incursion is a block in a runway. When one aircraft is trying to take off, for example, and another one is coming in on the same flight path, for example. That's an example of an incursion. And an excursion is the reverse of that. Okay, what is a collision? What's another word for collision? Collision. Okay, a very simple word. Another word beginning with C. So collision means crash. Okay, confusion. Confusion is when you don't know what's going on. There's lots of confusion. Yep, you really don't understand what's happening. Right, let's move on to rule number 5. So these words are a little bit longer. Okay, Napat crash, good. I think there's some delay this evening because you're responding slower than I am speaking, so I'll slow down a little bit. Okay, so rule number 5. Let me read out these words. So we have exceptional, exceptional, critical, situational, occasional, regional, national, and unusual. Unusual. Now, depending on where you're from in the United States or in the UK, unusual can be pronounced 2 ways. It can be pronounced with 4 syllables or 3. So you can say unusual or unusual. Both are correct. Okay. In the ICAO test, you can speak with American English or English English. It doesn't matter. You won't be penalised for using one or the other. You can use both, okay? And that's absolutely fine. Right. So I'll go through these again and see if you can guess the rule. Hello, Conan. I think I'll call you Jean-Paul. Okay, so let's go through these words again. Exceptional, critical, situational, occasional, regional, national, and unusual. Okay, which syllable is stressed? Which is the rule for this rule number 5? What are the missing words? Okay, rule number 4 was stress the second to last syllable. So what is rule number 5? What is rule number 5? Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Rule number 5. Okay, it is stress the third from last syllable. Okay, stress the third from last syllable. is rule number 5. So if you can write these rules in or type them in on your sheet, that's great. Okay, yeah. First to last, third from the last. If you look at exceptional, we are stressing the sep. Exceptional. Okay, so it's the third from the last. Critical. Okay, critical. Okay, hi Casey. Then we have situational, third from the end. Occasional, third from the end. Regional, third from the end. National, third from the end. Unusual, third from the end. Okay, so I think what's going to make it easier for you is if we transfer these words that I've been saying out loud onto the table below. Okay, Noelia, you want me to explain again? Sure. Do you want me to I think it might be better if we transfer the words to the grid, and then you'll have a better understanding. So first of all, let me explain what you see in this grid. Okay, so in this grid you see some blue circles. Have you all got the page with the blue circles? Yeah, you have the page with the blue circles, the table. So each circle represents a syllable, and the largest circle represents the stressed syllable in the word. So what we're going to do is transfer the words from the above exercises and rules into this table. So let's start off with the rule number 1. All the words with the stress on the first syllable we can put, hi Lito, we can put into this first box here, the box with the small circle followed by the big circle. Okay, all these are words that are stressing the second syllable. So I will read out those words and you type them in or write them in if you've printed it out. Okay, so all the words that go in this first box are require, decide, reduce, direct, instruct, commence, descend, collide, describe, and report. So all those words are in the first column and they're all stressing the second syllable. Now we'll move on to the next set of circles, and this time you see a big blue circle followed by a small blue circle. Okay, this means that words that go here have stress on the first syllable. So those words are climate, knowledge, runway, airport, cabin, wildlife, safety, vortex, conflict, weather, action, and surface. Okay, those are the words you can write under that second column with the big blue circle at the beginning followed by the small blue circle. If you don't have time to write them in now as we're going through, you can listen to this recording again and fill it in. Okay, right, the third set of circles we have is the big blue circle at the start followed by two small circles. So these are words with 3 syllables with the emphasis on the first syllable. So we have regional, national, and critical. Okay, regional, national, critical. Stressing the first syllable. Let's go down to the next box, which is a small circle followed by a big circle followed by a small circle. Meaning 3 syllables, emphasis on the second syllable. Excursion, incursion, collision, confusion, decision, and diversion. Okay, these all follow a nice pattern, and they're quite easy to say, all ending in the Shin sound. The next box when we move across is there are 4 circles, 4 syllables. Emphasis is on the second syllable. And for what we've studied today, we only have one word that fits in this box, and that's occasional. Occasional. Okay, occasional. Right. The next box along has 4 syllables also, with the emphasis on the third syllable. Explanation, explanation. Okay. I think when you start pronouncing these words correctly, you'll notice that you'll be sounding more like a native English speaker than you have done before, because like I mentioned at the start, or in the notes I put to advertise this lesson, quite often pronunciation is not given enough focus. When you can pronounce clearly, you are definitely understood a lot easier. Okay, right, let's go down to the last set of circles, and here we have 5 syllables. So the emphasis here is on the third syllable, and the word is situational. Situational, okay? 5 syllables. As in situational awareness. Situational awareness. Okay, you all know what that is. It's knowing and being aware of what is going on around you. Situational awareness, knowing what's going on around you, being aware of what you see, what you hear, what you feel. Okay. Now, before we finish today, I want to go back to a few of the words that we looked at last lesson and think about what is stressed in those words. So last lesson we looked at ed endings, and those verbs that end in an id sound actually change their stress. When you pronounce them in the present simple tense, they have one less syllable than when we pronounce them in the past simple tense. Okay, so the examples I've written down here are decide. When we say decide in the present simple tense, the emphasis is on the second syllable, decide. But when we turn it into the past simple, decided, we have an additional syllable on the end and the stress is on the second syllable. Decided, decided. Hi, Faisal. Okay. Bye, Jean-Paul. I'll see you next time. Then we have communicated, communicated, communicate, communicated, an extra syllable. Then we have instruct in the present simple, and in the past simple, instructed. So we're still stressing the second syllable. It's just that in the past simple we have an additional syllable sound at the end. Instruct, instructed. Skid, skidded. Lift, lifted. Report, reported. Land, landed. Evacuate, evacuated. Okay, so I hope you've learned something from this session. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me regarding word stress or ed endings from last week? If there's anything you'd like to ask me, you can ask me now or leave it in a message and I'll respond to it, no problem at all. Okay, and obviously we have word stress, but we also have sentence stress. So I think the next session we'll look at sentence stress, which is stressing the important words in a sentence. When we do that, we must also remember to stress the correct syllables in a word. So it gets a little bit more complicated, but with lots of practice, you will get the hang of it, no problem at all. And what we'll probably do is move on to some two-way communication in the future using a webinar platform. Okay, so I can hear you speaking, because the ICAO test is all about listening and speaking. Okay, so you have to be able to understand, but also you have to be understood. That is why we're covering pronunciation. Okay, so thank you very much for watching and joining in, and I'll save this session and we will see each other again next week. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Faisal. Thanks, Misas. Thanks, Noelia. Hasta mañana.